Let me see what numbers we are. Yeah, we're close to our numbers. I think we're good. We're gonna move forward because we're running out of time. See if there's anyone in the waiting room too. There's no. Cat is here. Good. Everybody's here. Perfect. Right. I just also put my contact information, so if you ever need anything, feel free. Please do not call me at night. So, it's if it's an emergency, yes, I'll take it, but try to refrain from doing that. Sometimes I get these weird calls, and I'm like, okay, that's not cool. All right. So let me see. Let me show you this here.
Yeah, fine. Meeting and song. Share. Just absolutely.
So,
This meeting is being recorded.
all right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I want to start by showing something related to capital improvement. Remember, capital improvement is based on three things: useful life of the property, the value, and whatever you're installing is permanently affixed. What that means that if you went to remove it, most likely you're going to damage it. So it can meet. There's three requirements, but it can meet two of them. But it's better to meet all three. So when you see a property and you know that it's a very big property, a big project being done, 9 out of 10 times it's going to fall on the capital improvement. But what I just did is that I gave you publication 862. So this is publication 862, which will give you the what's an improvement, what's a repair. So it will tell you automatically. So for example, if I like to use control find just to find something I want to look for. So I want to say, okay, let's look at bathrooms. So bathrooms is on page 10. So here you go. So anything in the middle is considered capital improvement. Anything towards the right is compare, repair, maintenance, or installation. So a bathroom, for example, a complete remodeling of bathrooms of toilet, tub, and vanity, complete installation or replacement, including any necessary fixtures. All of this stuff here is considered capital improvement. But when you go to the right, it's only an installation of a freestanding cabinet, and then repair is repair. Everyone knows what a repair is, right? You're taking something, you're fixing it, and you're putting it back, right? A valve is broken, you go and repair it, you put a new valve, you put it in. So the complexities, the size of the project will tell you, but your job is to check publication A62 before you do anything else. Okay? It is important for you to do that always. Because when you fill out the ST 124 at 124, it has to match up to what you're planning to do. Now, remember one thing: if you don't do your checks and balances or your checks before you go and do something, and let's say the state comes back to you and says, "Hey, you said this project was capital improvement, but when we looked at it, it's not capital improvement." Who do you think they're going to ask the taxes for? The customer, or they're going to come to you for the taxes that you didn't collect? They're going to come to you. They're not going to the homeowner. And once you close the contract with the homeowner, you can't go back and reclaim something. Thank you, Anna. You can't go back and say, "Hey, that the state wanted me to pay the taxes on it, and that's what it is. I have to collect the money for the state." The person has the right to say, "No, we're done," and you're going to have to take that money out of your bank account to pay for it. And that's what the issue is. So you have to really be careful with what you do. Another thing that you can do is talk to your CPA before you put an estimate together and say, "Hey, is this project considered a capital improvement?" So they can confirm it for you and say, "Yes, it is." You can move forward, and then that's it. Documentation in accounting and finance and everything is very crucial. You can't verbally say that this happened when you know you were supposed to collect the documents and get signatures. See what I'm saying? So remember, it's part of everything that you do now. So you can never leave this for another day. A lot of business owners always leave paperwork for last, and you are not going to be able to survive that way. Paperwork is paramount in moving your business forward. Paperwork also gets you paid. You see what I'm saying? So if you're maintaining your paperwork, you can get paid on time. If not, your payments will be straggling along, or there's a greater likelihood no one pays you. Let me pull out something else that I need to go over. This is everyone can see the ST120, right? Am I correct? So the ST120 is a resale certificate document, which when you yesterday I showed you ST120.1. So you have to also have the ST120 when you're about to purchase. This document is a little bit different than the ST120.1. But this one here will make you a regular customer at Home Depot or Lowe's. You ever, even Costco, BJ's. If you ever had a business account, they will ask you, is this for business or for personal? And if you say business, it's because you're going to be reselling the items. Home Depot will do the same. So the ST120 is one official document that you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or anyone where you buy materials and say, "Look, I need to create an account. So because I collect taxes when I sell the item." So you give them your sales tax certificate and you give them this form. Now it will make it a blanket purchase. So every time you come in, there's no taxes collected. And this is why the documents ask you, is it a single use or is it a blanket? A blanket means long term. Single is for that one purchase. Okay? But you have to fill this out. so we did that one. All right, so we are good on that. Any questions before I move on to the next document?
Yes, can we
Just
have the
wanna-
recording?
Say that one more time.
Can we have the recording?
The recordings will be sent to you, Ting. They have to set them up for you. So when we're done in about a couple of days, the office will send you access information to the recording. Okay?
Okay. And when is the exam?
I'm sorry?
The exam. The
So the exam, so right now we're going to do 3 quizzes today. When you go and fill out the application, start your business, fill out the application, and you take care of everything with the Department of Consumer Affairs, they will schedule you for the exam. We have nothing to do with that.
Oh, so we don't have anything after the training?
No.
Oh, okay. No certificate?
No, there's no certificate.
Okay.
Morning, Mr. Hernandez.
I think Esther had a question. Esther, you have one?
Oh, no, I just had a comment to what you were saying about paperwork. As a person that was paying a lot of people on the back end, I definitely didn't pay a lot of people because their paperwork wasn't together. So having paperwork is important, and filling it out properly is where I see the biggest mistakes of why people don't get non-payment.
Yes. That's a great, I'd like to talk to you offline. I'd like to get more input on that.
Me too.
Yeah, because I'm very curious.
A lot of it, one is not signing the form. You'll be surprised how many people do not sign the form.
Yeah.
One thing I will say with W-9s, when you don't sign them, like say you have one from like 2000 and you're trying to give it to me from 2025,
Right.
I'm not going to take that because I don't think the information is valid. So when you have a W-9, I would tell you to fill it out, refill it out every 2 years with your updated information and signing it, because we find it sketchy when we're getting old W-9s from like 2000 or 1998 or different stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I will say for the people that put the wrong information, like they put their social and it's really their EIM or their EIM or social, as the person on the back end, we get a notice from the IRS when you guys fill it out wrong and they flag you. You might not get caught now, but we do get something from the IRS saying that this information that you sent as a 1099 from the IRS is invalid. And what happens is you become on the finance blacklist with the company. So what happens is if we don't get an updated actual W-9 that's proper, we actually by law we're supposed to now take 30% taxes off the top if we work with you again.
And and we'll get talk offline, but I'm dying to know who are you, when you say we, who's we? So, but.
No, I worked in finance for a very long time for different companies, and I
Okay.
helped my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just reference we as any company you're going to work with.
Right.
If you think that we don't get information directly from the IRS, they do send us notices. It might take some time, but once you're flagged and you don't give the right information, by law, we're required to take 30% of any projects going forward and pay the taxes for you.
You see what Esther's talking about? That is what you're dealing with if you don't pay attention to what you're doing. You know, there is a learning curve for a lot of folks. But you have to sit there and really read the information and learn the information before you do it. So, but one thing I always, and thank you, Esther, it's important that you have people around you that know what they're doing, right? One thing with clients or people that we're assisting is we always ask for samples of what they would like to see in invoices and things like that to reduce the back and forth, right? But I think to Esther's point is these documents these are the normal documents of doing business. And then there's documents that are more generated by the company or by an agency. And those are a little bit more difficult to fill out, but you have to pay attention at the end of the day. You just can't submit something to say it's been submitted because it creates more problems, no payments. And you're going to remember there's something called unbillable hours. Unbillable hours is that you're working and you can't even charge for the time that you're spending on this. So you have to spend quality time, get it right, and then that's it. You're done. You move forward. All right. Do me a favor. Can we get into the study guide? Because we need to get going. The study guide is one of your documents there. And this is the part where it takes a little bit longer because we have to read through all the documents, this study guide, and there's a lot of stop and go with it. But please pull it out, get it ready. Do this. Any questions before we move forward? I'll take one. One question.
Yes, Mr. Hernandez, how are you today? From that I do have a question regarding the ST-120 that you just went over. You
Sure.
mentioned giving the tax certificate to the vendor. Is that the EIN notification letter?
No, the sales tax certificate. I'm going to show you. You have a form in your packet that tells you where to go. I have to go through that document, but you have to apply to become a sales tax agent, which is a collector. You have to collect taxes. So when you get approved, they give you a certificate. So you take that certificate and then you attach it to the ST-120, and then from there, you can actually make the claim the way you could file it. They put it in the system. So anytime you go, you pull up your account. Your account is either for personal use or for business. When you say business, it's going to actually, what you're telling them is that you're going to be collecting the taxes. Okay, so that's what
Thank you for
it's meant to.
clarifying that. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
No, anytime. I'll go through it. Okay. All right. All right. I need someone to read. Who wants to read and go for it? Who wants to volunteer? Going once, going twice.
I'll read it.
Eat what?
Let's go, Esther. Let's do this.
What is home improvement? Home improvement means construction, repair, replacement, remodeling, alternatives, conversion, rehabilitation, renovation, modernization, improvement, or any addition to any residential land or building with up to 4 or fewer residency or dwelling units includes, but it's limited to construction, eradication, replacement, and improvement of driveway, swimming pool terrace, patios, landscaping, fencing, porching, garage, fallout shelter, basement, and other improvements to structures or lands that are adjusted to dwelling house without regards to extended asphyxiation. Home improvement shall be included in installation of central heating, air conditioning system, central vacuum cleaning system, store windows, awnings, and communication systems.
Let's keep going.
You want me to continue?
Oh yeah. This is gonna be a long. But I'll
Okay, 'cause
skip
I'm
you.
still like half asleep, but I'll
Oh.
continue.
Oh, I
for
can
this part.
take over whenever you want.
Okay, I'll just finish this one. What is not home improvement? Home improvement does not include the construction of a new home, of a building, or any work done by a contractor in connection thereto. The sales of goods or material by seller who neither performs nor arrange to perform any work in connection with the installation of goods and materials sold. Government control residencies, residences, including residences owned and controlled by the state or municipality. What is it? I'm sorry. My eyes, sorry. Therefore, or decoration of painting of building, residence, home, or apartment that is not incidental or related to home improvement work herein defined.
Perfect. Thank you, Esther. Give me a moment. So one of the things to remember is to go back to what is home improvement for residences and down, right? But we talked about co-ops. We talked about condos. If you know what a cooperative is based on shares. It's not individual units that you own shares of a building. So you would say, oh, these are 40 cooperatives, 40 units in a co-op. But what the building managers or property managers have done is that they have incorporated the home improvement license into the requirements to do anything in any building. Daniel, who's the handyman? Daniel, you're the handyman? Right, so in your building, Edward too, right?
Yeah.
They won't let you in the building if you don't have a license at all. And the reason why is because the license carries everything that is required for you to perform. 1, you're a business. 2, you have the license. 3, you have insurance. So so they implement, especially the cooperatives, they implemented this early on. And that has been a boon, but you have to follow the guidelines. And also, especially in the city, Shane works in the city a lot. And Shane, I'm always using you as my Manhattan connection, right? You know that when you go into any building, they have different insurance requirements to get into buildings, right? They won't just say, oh, you have your license. You have to match up your insurance requirements to get in. So you might be at $1 million in terms of general liability, and then all of a sudden they go, you got to be at $3 million. Now you have to increase your policy. So as a business decision, you have to figure out if that is going to work for you or not. So it's in a long-term relationship, it's a short-term, and someone talked about I think in Ms. Brathwaite talked about seeing the insurance quote in the estimates or proposals, and if you see that as a higher insurance cost, it should not be laid out that way. It should be under your overhead because that's a new increase. No one really does it as just a line item. That's really trying to get away from it. But you can absorb it into an overhead because there's a higher cost of operating. When you're a business owner, everyone that underestimates the amount of cost that associated to conduct business. So it's you have to take it with a grain of salt, but that's the way the world works. So as a rule of thumb, you should always pre-plan your projects. Or the one point I'm also trying to make is you should break down all your costs to operate. You cannot assume that you're throwing numbers. Like if I ask you a question, what's your cost to operate per month? And you go, I don't know, $3,000. You might be off by another $3,000, so it's $6,000 to operate. Because there's a lot of cost for you to maintain. You have licensing, you have insurance, you have vehicles. If you work in Manhattan, there's fines now. There's also congestion pricing. You have $9 to worry about, right? So there's a lot more to it. So you have to sit there and really break down that cost. And then once you have that, there's a formula to get your overhead rate. So you have your equipment, your labor, your materials, and then you could attach that percentage into the overhead, or attach the overhead rate or multiply it into it, and then you add your net profit right on top of that. You're done. But the legwork needs to be done early. You can't assume that you're gonna estimate these things. That's how you lose money every time. And I sort of went on a long-winded explanation, but all of these things are going to play out when you're operating either in different neighborhoods. There's different rates for Manhattan. There's different rates for Staten Island. Remember, so Staten Island is Staten Island, but the cost to get there is enormous. Are you going to stay within a 10-mile radius, 20-mile radius? What is your clientele? Income levels, types of houses. So you have to really analyze where you want to go. It's like, and I use buying a home as a key, right? Well, when you buy a home, you want a great neighborhood, you want a great school, so you're doing the same thing. You want to identify your key customer early on and what you're capable of doing. So just think about that. And I went off topic a little bit more, but I wanted to get that across. Again, remember, and then remember, condos are not based on individual units, but there's a condo board. So condo boards, they get real fishy, real, but they're. You always have to make sure you get permission from whoever is running the building or the property. You must submit everything to make sure that you don't get into a problem. One other thing is, especially in New York City, you sometimes cannot tell the difference between a tenant and an owner. You need to confirm who you are. Are you a tenant or you own this property? So case in point, if the person is a tenant and they're saying, look, I want you to blow up this wall, and I want to, what is it called? Open concept right now, right? And you're like, yeah, I'll get it done. But you go and do all that work, and the owner of the property manager comes in, you're not getting paid. And you're going to have to put everything back the way it was prior to. So you're forced to do the work at your own expense because you didn't get permission from the ownership or the property manager.
You didn't even make it that far, even.
It happens either way, where you can end up in a situation because you didn't do your due diligence early.
Mm-hmm.
So it is in your best interest to really go in and say, let me identify who you are, show me, or some type of documentation that you own the property, because once they start work, you can't go back and forth, and then on top of that, you get shut out, and you lose your shirt, basically. It is not good business practice. So you have to really look into these things, okay? And also, tenants, they'll come in and say, hey, I want to paint the whole place. And if you know someone is saying, look, I want red paint everywhere, that's a very odd color. You have to use your noggin, right? You have to sort of say, red paint, and that's a red flag already. So why are you using red paint? Are you the owner of this property? That should just ring a bell. Because painting causes real damage, because for you to remove that red paint is even harder to do once you put it on. I use that as an example, but people are, in New York City, people move they move in lightning speed, and there's a lot of movement, so back and forth, and you sometimes don't know, you can't tell who it is. So you need to make sure, okay? Some people have been living in the same unit for 20 or 30 years, but who owns the property? See what I'm saying? So that's what I'm getting at. Remember, home improvement, if you can't do a whole new building, or new construction if there's no foundation. So if it's a plot of land and they say, construct me a new home, a new building, say, no, I can't do that. If you're selling goods and materials, not happening, then you don't need a license for this. And if it's a government building, it's not required. And decorating or painting. Decorating is easy in terms of Christmas trees or whatever holidays you observe, but you also have to make sure. So if you're only doing that, it's fine. The one that always sticks out to me is painting, because painting does require repair on average. So once it kicks in, repair kicks in, this is where you fall into it, where you need a license. All right, let's continue, please. Esther, you had a question?
Oh no, I was just gonna piggyback off of what you were saying about like knowing who, and I would also say in the Long Island space, it's starting to get a little sticky. That's the word I want to say, because people are also indigenous people are also reclaiming land, so it's starting to get sticky. I've dealt with landmarking stuff before. Those stuff are all real sticky, so you want to make sure that you're verifying those things, because they have huge qualifications to do anything, even changing a window. It needs approval. I've been through that. It's not a hot mess, but it's a lot of checks and following up that you have to do with agencies when it comes to like indigenous land or trademark landmark properties.
Yeah, well, we're going to touch it. There's a section on it. It's very brief, but you're right. Anything that looks really old and very antique, if you get what I'm saying, you should always check to see if it has a plaque on it, usually, or if it's listed in the if it's marked for preservation. And if it is, then you have additional approvals. If you don't know how to do the work, you just don't do it. Don't bother. Let's continue, please.
Okay, you want me to read?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, what is a contractor? Is that
Who's
what-
reading?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, what is a contractor? A home improvement contractor is anyone who owns, operates, maintains, conducts, controls, or transacts a home improvement business and undertakes or agrees to perform a home improvement, whether or not the contractor is a prime contractor or subcontractor with respect to the owner. A contractor may be either an individual or a business. What is a contract? A home improvement contract is an agreement, whether or not in writing, between a contractor and a homeowner, or a contractor and a tenant, for performance of a home improvement, and includes all labor, services, and materials to be furnished and performed.
Veronica, give me 1 second. So a contract, I told you this yesterday. New York State allows a verbal agreement or any type of agreement to be valid. What does that mean? Is that if, let's say I use sign language to communicate, and I, don't look at my hands and say, oh, he knows. No, I don't. I just use them just to give you an impression of. So if you can understand that I said yes, so I shake my head and I go, we're good, that's an agreement. So everyone thinks it's verbal. It has to be, as long as you sort of come to an agreement in any way, shape, or form. In New York State, it becomes a valid agreement. The problem you have is it's harder to prove because you have nothing in writing. But for this license, there's a special document you have to sign it's an affirmation that states that you will use contracts for all your transactions, and you must. So if you fail to do that, you can't go to DCA, or if someone files a claim against you and you go, oh, you know, we had a verbal agreement. You already said, you affirmed that you were going to use a contract. So you're almost shooting yourself in the foot. So remember, in New York State trumpets New York City law, but for this license, it is a major requirement that you use a contract, no matter what. Okay? Let's continue.
What is a salesperson? Please note that the salesperson has been removed by DCA, but the act of function still remains the same. A salesperson is someone who negotiates or solicits a home improvement contract with a homeowner or tenant. Salesperson work for wages under the control and supervision of contractors. Who requires a license? Anyone who does home improvement works as a business in New York City is required to be licensed as a home improvement contractor by the Department of Consumer Affairs. Anyone who solicits, canvasses, sells, perform, or obtain a home improvement contract as a contractor or salesperson is also required to be licensed. Who does not require a license? The following individuals who are not required to be licensed by the or less do not require the performance of a licensed home improvement contractor. Where do I apply for a license? All home improvement licenses are issued by the Department of Consumer Affairs. A license can be applied for online or in person at the DCA licensing at 42 Broadway, 5th floor, New York, New York. Once all application materials have been submitted, applicants must pass a written examination that tests their knowledge for NYC home improvement business law.
1 second, please. So it's 42 Broadway, 1st floor. They changed it. And also there's a Queens office, by the way. So there are 2 locations and not just one where you can go to. And who wants to go into the city now to pay $9? But if you go in a train, you go on a train. You save some money. But you see at the last line, it talks about once all application materials have been submitted, you have to submit all your business documents, which are required. You have to also, one point, you have to show you have a business bank account. And once you submit those documentation, and it's been approved in the system, they will allow, and fingerprints, by the way, they will allow you to take the exam. So you have to go and submit everything in one shot. So, Tang was asking, hey, what is the exam? This is how it works. Application first, and then once it's approved, then you can take the exam. Also, the other thing is, the exam itself, when you take it, if you speak another language, it could be Russian, it could be Mandarin, it could be Creole. There's a lot of them. So if you say, look, I'm really comfortable in my native language, they will give it to you in 2 ways, right? They will give it to you in your native language first, and then they put the question in English, which is pretty cool. And that actually helps people because what you interpret in your native language is very different sometimes, but if you connect the two, it makes it easier to understand. So I always tell my students that if you really speak another language, to select it and say, look, I'm going with that one, but fear not, the English version is already there. So it makes you even more comfortable. Because I know there's always a fear factor with English or reading some stuff in English. So that's there for you. Okay. Let's continue, please.
Okay. Why do I apply for a license?
Oh, no, next one. How do I renew?
Oh, okay. How do I renew a license? Renewal of both home improvement contractor and salesperson licenses can be done online or by mail and does not require retaking the licensing examination unless a license has already passed its expiration by more than 59 days.
You see what it says, expiration by more than 59. So the license expires, they still give it 59 days. The other day I had a student, it was kind of ridiculous, honestly. You know, contacting the office, knowing well that he knew that it was expired, but he allowed it to expire beyond 59 days. And I stress this to you. If you see that your license expires today, you should be renewing this in December or in November. Don't wait until you get closer to the date or after the date. It makes it very hard because now you're rushing to get everything in. So when you put up you mark your calendar, you say, look, it's going to expire January 12th. So I'm going to start 2 months before to renew. Ms. Chappelle, you have a question? You're muted.
Yes. So is there a continuing education credit that has to be met, like in real estate for myself as a salesperson? We have to do continuing education credits in order to renew our license.
There is no CE credits at all. So
Okay, thank you.
I would, but there's a but. What I do recommend is for you to continue to learn more about running a business. Anything that has to do with the Department of Consumer Affairs regulations, building codes, building a network of professionals that you can work with. This is advice that I'm giving because I do advisement all day. And you take that and you make it as part of your CE. You should have architects, you should have engineers, you should have expediters, people that are in your industry that you can make a phone call and rely on, but also staying connected to the information that controls your environment. You know, there's safety classes that you have to take now. And a lot of people, they've bypassed that, but they didn't know that was part of the program with the DOB. DOB has its own, safety requirements, even when you're getting on larger projects or even just in general. The good thing is to get it out of the way now versus doing it later at the point. So they also have sometimes training programs. The city has training programs on different things, contracts, legal agreements. The one thing I didn't do, and I have to apologize to the QEDC, the QEDC has its own professionals. It's called the ABCs. I was part of it before. And the ABCs are professionals in the field. They do have someone that is an attorney. They have someone that's an accountant. They have someone that is in marketing. And you can actually get an hour of advisement for free. So it's part of it. So if you go to the website, you just have to dig a little bit deeper. But the programs are there for you. So just keep that in mind. I have a couple of questions. Ms. Brathwaite, Esther, and I think I have one more.
Oh, I just want to know if that was a calendar days or business days.
That's a great question.
I mean, I don't want to try to be funny.
No, these are great questions. Just when it says 59 days, it's 59 days. There's no calendar days. Holidays are counted for. Just take it. That's why take it with a grain of salt and say, look, I'm starting 2 months before. So it's a rule of thumb that I always tell my students to do. Don't ever wait until you get close to expiration. Something happens, agency's backed up, you never know. So and everything is done online, which is a very quick. So it won't take you long to do. Okay. So Esther, I answered your question. Ms. Brathwaite, did I answer your question? Perfect. Charlie, you have a question?
Yes, I have a quick question. Here it says the salesperson license should be kept by the salesperson. So what is a salesperson license?
Well, you see over here, let me go back up. This used to be a requirement. So what I did is I didn't want to remove it because sometimes I have people that are partners or people that do sales for the business. And that function still remains. And what that means is that whoever is doing the sales on behalf of your business, like, some people are doing succession plans, like you're taking over businesses, but you have multiple people working for you. Who's going to be the salesperson? So what I'm trying to do is to ingrain in you or put it in your mind that whoever's doing that has to know exactly everything about the license at the same time. That's what the intent is. I don't want to just scrap it because then you think it's all on you. It's no. Everyone down the line needs to understand what they're doing. Are we good, Charlie?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Perfect. Ms. Chappelle.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I actually, years ago, so being in real estate, I come across my sellers or buyers and they need to do work. And I had this network of professionals, architects and interior designers, and I would coordinate and introduce them. I didn't know that, I was told by someone, they said, listen, you should take this course, the salesperson course, because you could actually get paid for this. This is an actual thing that you're doing. You're not just making introductions, but I was also, setting up the meetings and, managing their the projects with the interior designer. So, such valid.
Consultation is consultation. If you're doing the legwork for the business owner or for whoever it is, there's a fee associated with it. There's nothing to it, because if not, you're not a not-for-profit. You're not doing, it's not a community service. You're a business. So at the end of the day, everyone has to understand what your position is or what your play is. And if they respect what you're doing, then they have to pay for it. That's the honest truth. I do consulting all day. And I would tell you that information is, you've spent so many years doing it, you've retained that knowledge, and you continue to do CE credits and all this other stuff that you do. It's people have to pay for it. So hopefully that helps. Okay. Let's continue, please.
Okay. Can a license be used by someone who has not applied for a license and taken the licensing examination? No. Licenses are neither assignable or transferable. Where should licenses be posted? The home improvement contractor license should be placed in a conspicuous place in your office at all times. Copies of the contractor's license may be purchased from the Department of Consumer Affairs for $10. The salesperson's license should be kept by the salesperson and be ready to show upon request. What should I do in case of change of business status? Any change of name, address, ownership, or management should be reported in writing to the Department of Consumer Affairs within 10 days. This can now be done online using the DCA Business Toolbox at the following website. Okay. General industry and business knowledge. What is the first thing a contractor should do before beginning work? Before beginning any work, a contractor must confirm whether or not building plans and work permits are necessary to perform the work in question. If so, building plans must be submitted for approval to the Department of Buildings. Once plans are approved, the contractor may apply for necessary permits. Some permits, however, such as plumbing or electricity permits, require a licensed master plumber or electrician to apply. Does all construction and renovation work require a permit? Most construction in New York City requires approval and permits from the Department of Buildings. Work that does not require a permit is typically cosmetic, such as painting, plastering, plumbing fixture replacement, cabinet installation, non-structural roof repair. Where does a contractor go to secure work permits? Work permits are issued by the Department of Buildings. There are 4 basic types of work permits. NB, construction for new structures. ALT1, Alt1, major alterations that will change use, egress, or occupancy. Alt2, multiple types of work not affecting use, egress, or occupancy. Alt3, one type of minor work not affecting use, egress, or occupancy. Other permit types include plumbing, electrical, after-hours vacancies, and many more. Who is responsible for obtaining the proper work permits? The key word here is responsible. The contractor, and only the contractor, is responsible for securing all necessary permits and exemptions. Certain permits, such as plumbing and electrical permits, must be secured by a licensed plumber or electrician, but the responsibility for ensuring that all of the necessary permits have been secured still falls upon the home improvement contractor, and this responsibility may not be transferred to the homeowner.
Give me 1 second, please. The handyman folks that are here, right? And this goes for everyone. If you're doing simple renovations and that really doesn't change the use, egress, or occupancy. If it's major, so if it's just replacing cabinets, putting down a floor, things that are not very destructive or require demo, reorganization of certain things, plumbing and things like that, you can get a simple permit to protect yourself if someone calls the Department of Buildings. That is the right way of doing it. Now, if it's simple repair, you're fixing a wall, you're doing something that takes about a day or two, that's minor. But once you're going into a couple of weeks, a week, 2, just get the simple permit. Don't bother, especially in buildings. I always ask this question. And maybe there's one out there that can sort of give me give me the thumbs up that they're cool with everyone. But let me ask a question: does everyone here around them, wherever you live, do you get along with all your neighbors? Wow, you guys are really good. That means all your neighbors.
Oh, that's a good question.
Huh?
That's a good
For
question.
the most part,
They're the ones that will set you up for
Exactly.
it could be annoying, but yes.
drama just for no reason. So you have to know who. That's why I did the job the way I did, because I knew I had estate issues and they were like beholden to like the person who moved out. So I know I had some tyrants on the block that were just looking for any and everything. And with, the Jewish guys built, sort of like buying up these blocks, I knew that like they were just looking for opportunities to just be malicious. So that's why it was important to secure all the permits, make sure they're properly displayed. And even with having drama, my architect told me, even with having drama just within your team, it's like, be careful, because you don't know who's just gonna now start calling if you have to fire someone, which would probably be me. You have to, they may just make malicious calls to the DOB just to be a thorn in your side.
You see, I mean, Ms. Brathwaite, you took it a step further. I was just talking about neighbors. But you have a specific situation, and that happens in a lot of neighborhoods across the country, where either developers are buying out, and it's havoc everywhere. But the one that I always focus on first is the neighbors. No one's at 100% with neighbors. No one. You can be cordial, but when they step into their house, they're dying to kill you somehow. They just don't like you, and for some reason, somehow, it just happens, right? There's this intention for no apparent reason. But the reason why I bring it up is because if you don't have it goes back to the point, you don't have permits. These are the first people that are going to call. So you want to have permits lined up, knowing well that if they do call, you're in working order, and the DOB goes, okay, it's a fake call, we got it, this is what you're doing, you're not doing nothing out of the ordinary. That is the major thing you're trying to protect yourself from. Also, when you're doing work in any property, and especially in buildings in the city, Brooklyn, or any type of structure that goes up more than one floor, or even to the sides, and you're going to be doing major reno, you got your permits and everything, talk to the neighbors. Put them on notice or let them know that you're going to be working there, and that if they have any concerns, to come to you first. You sort of stop them at their tracks if they're thinking about something like that. Say, here's my card, here's my direct cell, call me, and I will let you know what's going on with the project. If I'm making too much noise, just let me know. And in a building, you should go to the sides, to the bottom, and up top. You have to really protect the project from delays, because those delays are costly. Because if the DOB comes in and there's some wrangling, something you did, and they got to come back, now the project's stalled. Also, there's something called hours of variance, hours where you can only work, I think, in the city, Kat or Shane, please correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it's from 9 to 4. You only allow, or Edward and Daniel can confirm this, there's only a certain amount of hours you can work during the day. You can't work during the weekends. So, but if you need to work past hours, let's say there's a major problem with plumbing, something, get the permit for after hours. There's a permit for that. So just keep that in mind, okay? So there's always something, just make sure again, paperwork is in order, permits is one of the vital parts to this.
there's a permit for, isn't there a permit for noise?
That's the way, it's after hours.
Okay, and then isn't there also, there's also weekend permits?
Right, so after hours, weekends, whatever you're gonna be doing, just check with the DOB and make sure that you have the proper documentation. One thing also, I'm sorry?
Also, there's another trick for the noise. There's an application, an app you can use now to record the noise and show the monitoring of the level in case someone calls the cop. I've had that issue
Charlie has
before.
this, yeah.
And you can see.
Charlie has had it for a while.
Hey, you're breaking up, Ms. Chavez. The connection's a little off. Yeah, then thank you for the app, for the noise level app.
And then you can show it to the cops in case they call the cops or something, and showing that you've been maintaining levels during your construction project, because you have some negative Nancy, no offense to anyone who's the neighbors, that will just say that, oh, the noise is outrageous and keep calling the cops on you. And you can show the recording that you've been maintaining there's like levels in an area standard, and you can show it to them.
Well, one to add to that, and I usually, we talk about it in large projects, is that there is a camera installed recording the entire project, the life of the project, where you can actually record everything that's happening. You can actually put it in a corner and it's recording all day while you're there. Of course, you got to take it with you, but you can show everything that's happening. So the person's calling or making a false report, that will actually show, no, there's really nothing going on. And sometimes the cops are good at telling them to stop doing that. But just keep that in mind.
Is that like a ring camera?
Yeah, not a ring camera. There's a standalone.
Not a ring.
Yeah.
It's not a ring camera. You can get small lapse cameras that record the entire. Sorry, this is actually what my business is. I actually do it. There's like cameras you can install for lapse cameras for security, and it can run 24 hours. Some people for larger, longer projects, they like to just have that for security. It also is if you're going to end up getting squatters or all these other things. It's used for multiple reasons, but usually people like to just invest in like small cameras that does lapse, and it's just monitoring 24 hours. Or you can work with the actual security company and like install temporary cameras. It depends what your project is. Sorry, not to cut you off.
Oh, thank you. That's great info. Sorry to cut you, Mr. Hernandez.
And to also, we got to keep moving. But when you're out of the area, you can track the project on your phone, especially Ms. Brathwaite, because you might have to step out, but that camera is running all day. So it protects you to sort of, when they say, because remember you said you need to have someone on site every time. I remember when I first started my own business, I had the contractor stalling the project by blowing the electricity. So he would take two wires and blow the line, boom, then there's no power. So I figured something was telling me something was off, so I gave him a helper, and I told the helper, "You're my eyes and ears," and the helper actually told me that he was blowing the line. Then on top of that, he was stalling with everything else, so because it was a daily pay per day, it was, if the project kept running, I had to keep paying. So the project, he stalled it on purpose. But that was years ago, right? And now we're in sort of cameras. There's also backup systems. So if they try to cut the power, the camera's still running because it's connected to a backup source at the same time. You got to think. You almost got to think 5 steps ahead, and that's the sad part. But anyway, we're going deep into security and everything. Let me take 2 questions, and then we'll stop the questions from there. Tang, you have a question? Oh, Charlie goes first. Charlie. Charlie, you there? Charlie? Tang, go for it.
Yeah, I'm doing HVAC installation and maintenance. So what license and permit do I need to get?
So with the permits, you're probably going into all three. Because you're not doing any of the sort, you're just doing minor work. ALT3. But remember, if you're doing plumbing for a unit, you have to get a plumber to run lines. You just can't do HVAC because you want to do HVAC. You have to get a plumber, you have to get an electrician. You can have all the connections ready for them, and you could connect the thermostat, and all that's great. But running power to the unit or connecting the unit to the box, you're going to have to get an electrician and a plumber. There's no way, because they need to sign off. I want to try to keep the questions down because we're running behind. Danny, you got a question?
Yeah, the HVAC has electrical components. We will be allowed to service those parts, but you answer. I was going to ask you the question later. Like when you actually install the HVAC, you will have to get a plumber. You would have to get the electrician, correct? But as an HVAC installer, you can deal with the immediate components in the.
Exactly. Yeah, it's you set up the units, but the plumber comes in and runs the whole line of where you're going to go and make that connection for you. Because remember, a furnace runs, let's say a furnace will run on gas. I told you, don't touch gas. Let them, they get the permit, they sign off that it was done, an electrician runs the line to the unit, and you can finish it off from there. But you're not supposed to be touching anything else. All right? Charlie, we're still waiting for you, but
Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Could you go up a little bit? I have a question regarding the plumbing and electrical. Here's that some permits, such as plumbing and electricity permits, require licensed master plumber or electrician to apply. So what if I'm the owner of the property? Do I need to be licensed to apply for a permit for plumbing or electrical?
so let me. This is a great question, but I'll answer it, and then we got to move forward because we're running out of time. So anytime a homeowner, for all the homeowners that are here, or if you're going to do business, so a homeowner should never be pulling out permits. Never. You, as a contractor, you should never tell a homeowner, hey, you go and pull out the permits. As a homeowner, you should never pull out your permit. Remember I told you about insurance, right? If something goes wrong and you pulled out a permit, you said, oh, I'm going to do it, and you mess it up and you destroy the house, it's on you. You didn't get someone licensed, you didn't get someone of a professional to do this. So you're on the hook. But the other part is that when you're pulling out a permit from the DOB, you're telling DOB that you're an expert in this field. That's what you're telling them. But you also have to show proof that you know what you're doing. So to answer your question, no, you should never be pulling out permits, or you should never instruct a homeowner to pull out a permit. It's not part of it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, I went off the deep end a little bit, but we're going to hold on to the questions for a while until we can get through, because we need to get through a lot of information, but I need to get through this here.
Yeah.
This is
I have a question. What is ALT3 and why I need to get a plumber and electrician? How to get them?
Say that again?
You said I need an ALT3. What is ALT3? And how to get a plumber or electrician? Do I need to hire somebody to?
Of course. You need to hire them as subs because you don't have a license. You cannot do that type of work under this license. You cannot. You cannot be touching that stuff. I'm sorry?
What is ALT3?
This is minor work. what you're doing is not this. You're not doing multiple. You're not doing major alterations. You're doing minor work. Okay?
Is it a name of a permit? ALT3? Never heard it.
Give me 1 second, Ting. Go ahead, Ting.
So ALT3 is a permit name?
Yes, it is. Alteration 3.
Oh. So how to get that?
I can't go into that. So the basic thing is you have to take your license, you have to have general liability, you have to have workers' comp insurance, and go to the DOB with what you want to do. That's how it works. But after that, I really can't go into it deeper. Okay?
Oh, I have
Okay. So let me just explain something that I need to get across here. And with Alt 1 is this major alterations that will change use. What does that mean? It lets hold on 1 second. Give me 1 minute, please. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So major alterations is anything that is going to alter the use of the space and I'll talk about use first. And let's say that you're changing a one family to a two family, or three or four, that's changing the use. Or if you're going from residential to commercial, that's changing the use of the space. Every space, it has the coding system or code for the type of use or what is going to be used. But if you're changing it, you need approved building plans to do that. Egress is the amount of the in and out. If a property, if you're trying to, let's say you want to move the door that's in the center and you want to move it to the side of the building, you're changing the egress, the in and out. It could be inside or outside, so you're changing the egress is called. The occupancy is the amount of people that can fit in one space. So, there's certain buildings that when you go in, it'll tell you only 125 people fit here, right? That's the occupancy, how many people can fit in that one space or one building. So you're changing that. So that is a major one. I didn't talk about NB. NB is that if you're building a new structure, it could be a shed, it could be an addition, it could be anything. You would need that permit, but also you would need approved building plans. And then O2, it's multiple types of work not affecting use, egress, or occupancy. So this is major renovations that you're doing, but it's not changing anything inside. So you're ripping out walls, you're putting up new sheetrock, but you're not moving walls. Once you start moving something into a different place or changing the design or the layout of the space, that's when you're going into a different permit. But in this case, you're not. Okay? All right. Let's continue, please.
Okay. Who is responsible for obtaining an amended certificate of occupancy? Again, the key word here is responsible. Responsibility always falls upon the prime contractor. In the case of securing an amended certificate of occupancy, the actual application must be done by registered architects or a professional engineer. The responsibility of ensuring that the amended certificate of occupancy is successfully secured, however, falls entirely upon the contractor. What is a certificate of occupancy? A certificate of occupancy, CO, documents the legal use and occupancy of a building. The certificate describes how a building may be occupied. For example, a two-family home, a parking lot, a 40-unit multiple dwelling, or a store, all have different certificates to certify their legal use and occupancy. If planned construction will result in a new building or will result in change of use, egress, or occupancy for existing building, a new or an amended certificate of occupancy is required. Where does a contractor go to obtain a permit for placing a dumpster on the street? Not all permits are secured through the Department of Building. Dumpsters placed on the street require a permit from the Department of Transportation. Does a home improvement contractor require a permit to do sidewalk work? Yes. Sidewalk permits are also secured through the Department of Transportation. What is needed to paint the exterior of a house or more than one story? If the exterior of a house can be painted without scaffolding, then no permit is required. If scaffolding is required, however, then a suspended scaffold permit must be secured.
Give me 1 second, please. Thank you. So, with the dumpsters, please be mindful that if the dumpster's on the street or even hits the sidewalk, you need a permit for that. If the dumpster is on the property, in the driveway, you need to make sure you don't need the permit. That's what I'm getting at. But as soon as it gets on the street or sidewalk, there are dumpster companies that love to give you a dumpster. They move quick to get you any size, but they don't want to do the permitting stuff, and they don't tell you sometimes. They just, oh, we'll drop it off, and they'll walk away, and you're like, okay, I'm good. Another thing is, you're also responsible. One, you got the permit. Two, you got to secure the dumpster. That means that the dumpster cannot move out of its location, out of its placement. And on top of that, you are supposed to secure the garbage every night. You cannot leave it unattended. So you might have to cover it. You have to seal it. There's different things you have to do. So make sure you understand what the codes and regulations are, because you could end up getting a fine for something you didn't mean to do, or you just didn't know. But those are some of the major requirements. Okay. And this also goes for people that are working outside. When you're doing work on a sidewalk, you got to make sure you know where the gas lines and water lines are going to be. Usually they're marked. And if you don't do that work, you can sub it out to someone, but make sure you do your due diligence. Because if you rupture one of those lines or you mess up, it's on you. So it's always double checking, making sure you can get the gas company and Con Edison Con Edison to come and mark the lines. They'll come out and tell you where everything is at. So you have to do that if you're working outside. Also, if you're digging into the dirt deeper to fix a sewer line or anything like that, you're going to have to get DEP involved, and also you need another permit from the Department of Transportation. And also, if it's DEP, if it's water, if it's gas, you got to get the gas company involved, because they won't let you touch the lines either. So there's always more. There's always more and more. Just keep that in mind. Let's continue, please.
Okay. What are some of the different departments that home improvement contractors often come into contact with? New York City Department of Consumer Affairs, DCA, New York City Department of Building, DOB, New York City Department of Transportation, DOT, New York City Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, New York City Planning Commission, CPC, New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission, LPC, New York City Business Integrity Commission, BIC. Is it necessary for a home improvement contractor to hire an electrician to do certain kinds of work? All electrical installation, regardless of voltage, must be performed by electricians who are licensed by the Department of Buildings. Most electrical work requires an application to be filled by the licensee. A permit must be issued, an inspection must take place, and a certificate should be issued. Minor work, which is limited in scope, requires filing with a lower filing fee and a permit. but no inspection is required and no certificate is issued. Maintenance work must also be filed, but there is no fee, permit, or inspection. Is it necessary for a home improvement contractor to hire a plumber to do certain kind of work? Any plumbing work beyond the direct replacement of a same type plumbing fixture or a simple repair requires a licensed plumber. Work involving the alteration, rearrangement, relocation, or permanent removal of any piping must be supervised by a licensed master plumber. The licensed master plumber must obtain permits from the Department of Building and arrange for necessary tests and inspections of completed work by a department inspector. Simple repairs or direct replacement of existing faucets or fixtures, such as toilets and sinks, are considered cosmetic work and do not require a permit. Direct replacement involves work that does not alter or change the fixture's hot and cold water shut-off valves or fixture tape and may be performed by a home improvement contractor.
So, give me one second. So so when it comes to plumbing, you can go and change a faucet. You can change a toilet. You can change the trap on a sink. But the way so what they're saying is, look, if you know how to do plumbing work, you can do it, but you have to be supervised by a master plumber. So if you're going to run water lines and things like that. But as a licensed contractor, I would not be touching this stuff if you're not licensed to do it. I mean, if you're not insured to do it. Remember, I always go back to insurance because insurance is the key. This allows you to do some of that work. They could come and approve it if it's done correct. They'll test the lines. But just let them do it. Don't get involved. Because of the simple fact, if something fails, it is all on you. Then you have to go and make the claim against the plumber or the electrician, the plumber here. And that's the issue. But remember, you can change the toilet. You can change the faucet, the sink, the cabinetry. You can do all of that. But when it comes to the trap of the tub, the trap is where the water goes out. So there's a trap, it goes, and then it loops around. That is one of the hardest things to change if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't do it correctly, all that stuff starts to leak. And also, if you don't know how to do a shower body is where you control the line, the water in and out. So it's important to understand what you need to do, or you need to be licensed to do that. The way I always mention this, and I've done it for so many years, is that wherever the point of water entering and coming out, that point is where you stop work. So where the valves meet, that's where you stop. If you have to, handymans, yeah, they can change valves and everything. They can do all of that. But if you are not accustomed to it, just get someone. Because remember, if a water leak occurs because of water coming in or water going out, and it destroys the apartment or it destroys everything around it, you're on the hook. That's why you don't do it. Gas lines, I would not touch. I tell everyone, do not touch gas. You don't know how pressure testing. You don't know anything on my gas. So I would not do it. So it is in your best interest. Now so that's the whole point with plumbing. They allow you to do it supervised, but my advice to you is just let them do it. Just put it into your cost and get out of the way. Okay? Let's continue, please.
What is the difference between a subcontractor and an employee? A subcontractor is an individual or business contracting to do part of a home improvement contract with a prime contractor. An employee works for wages and is under his or her employer's direct control and supervision. Are subcontractors required to be licensed by the Department of Consumer Affairs? Yes. Again, a subcontractor, as opposed to an employee or a contractor, must be licensed by the Department of the Consumer Affairs to perform home improvement work in New York City. Electricians and plumbers are licensed by the Department of Building. Can salesperson concurrently represent more than one contractor? Yes. Where the salesperson has more than one employer, each employer shall file a written consent with the Department of Consumer Affairs. Such consent to include the name or names of other employees of the salesperson.
So really quick, remember the salesperson information is no longer part of the licensee at all. Before there were 2 licenses. They took it down to 1. But I leave this in here every time and I explain it that anyone that is working for you needs to tell you everything that they're doing. Just same way. Sometimes a salesperson works for multiple people. Sometimes they sell the projects to different contractors. So if you're paying them to work for you, why should they be selling the projects out when you're paying them? So you need to really get a good sense of what that salesperson is doing on your behalf, and you should never take it lightly. So, take the information and say, okay, that's not part of it anymore, but I have to always remember that anyone representing my company, I need to have total control of what they're doing and saying, but also what's happening out there in the public and what belongs to me. Because there are some people that will go out there and say, and sell it to the highest commission or highest bidder. They'll say, look, I got a bathroom in the kitchen, how much? How much you give me for it? And then, they're looking for that commission to be paid. So that's something you don't want to get into. Let's continue, please.
What are some of your obligations with regards to your employees? Employees must be covered by workers' compensation and disability insurance. Their wages must be reported to the IRS and their taxes withheld. In addition, the employer must comply with the federal immigration laws, which require employers to ensure that employees have legal authority to work in this country. What is the net profit of a job? Net profit is the final profit of any job after expenses. How does a contractor handle sales tax? Sales tax for repairs must be collected from the homeowner and paid by the contractor. Sales tax is not collected, however, for work that constitute capital improvement. And in the case of a capital improvement, if you are a contractor who purchases materials and supplies, you pay tax to the supplier and you do not collect any sales tax from the homeowner. What type of work qualifies as capital improvements? A capital improvement is an addition or alteration to a property that, 1, substantially adds to the value of the real property, or appreciable prolongs the useful life of the real property, and 2, becomes part of the real property or is permanently affixed to the real property so that removal will cause material damage to the property or article itself. Adding a bathroom to a home would be an example of a capital improvement. Repairs such as repairing a window frame or painting the living room do not qualify as capital improvement. Can a contractor elect to secure a bond rather than participate in the DCA trust fund? Generally, yes. A contractor can either secure a bond of $20,000 or contribute biannually to DCA's Home Improvement Trust Fund. If a contractor purchases a performance bond, however, it shall be conditioned upon all of the following: compliance with all laws, rules, and regulations covering the conduct of home improvement contractors. 2, payment to the City of New York of any fine, penalty, or other obligations imposed by the Department of Consumer Affairs within 30 days of its imposition. And 3, payment of any final judgment against the home improvement contractor. The bond shall be either a cash bond or a bond executed by a duly authorized surety company in a form acceptable to the commissioner.
Really quick, just to add to this, remember they give you options. You can get into the trust fund for $200 every 2 years, or you can pull a bond for $20,000. A bond acts the same way. It's like it protects the project in itself. A lot of people don't get a performance bond because it's too complicated, too costly. Just pay the $200 to the trust fund. Okay? Let's continue, please.
Duties and responsibilities of a prime contractor. A contractor must, 1, secure all necessary permits, licenses, certificates of occupancy, or exemptions necessary to complete the contract in accordance with state and local building laws. 2, maintain books of accounts, copies of all contracts with buyers, and other such records as shall properly and completely reflect all transactions involving the home improvement business. These records shall be maintained for 6 years or the length of time of a contract guarantee, whichever is longer. 3, apply all funds received from a homeowner to the payment of expenses related directly to the home improvement. The contractor may not apply such funds to any expenses unrelated to the home improvement, unless the home improvement is completed and all expenses for direct labor, material, and subcontractors related thereto have been paid. And 4, inform the buyer of his or her rights to cancel within 3 business days of signing a home improvement contract. No work should be performed and no money should be dispersed until the expiration of this 3 days cancellation period.
So, remember, so the key word to this license is responsible or responsibility. The contractor is responsible for everything. You cannot shift responsibility at all. So I say that because it's important to, you can't go and say, blame it on on a sub, on the architect, engineer, anyone. You're the one that signed the contract with the property owner. So that's important. So you have to secure permits, you have to license the certificates of occupancy, everything. It's your job. Records of the transaction, all the contract estimates, everything that was done on that project must be secured for 6 years. But let's say you have a guarantee that's for 10 years, you have to hold it until 10 until that guarantee is over, or warranty. So whichever one is longer, but the minimum is 6 years, automatic. Just keep that in mind. All right. We're going to talk about the 3-day cancellation period. That is something that allows a moment of, a breathing room to allow the homeowner to figure out if they want to continue or not. That is required by law or by regulation. So you have to abide by it every time you sign a contract. So you don't put something to start the next day. You count the 3 days of cancellation, except, so you put the 3 days of cancellation and you start on the 4th or the 5th day. But we'll talk about that shortly. So let's continue, please.
Okay. A contractor cannot, 1, deviate from or disregard the plans or specifications or any terms and conditions agreed to under a home improvement contract in any material respect without the written consent of the owner. 2, make any substantial misrepresentation in the solicitation or procurement of a home improvement contract, or make any false promise of a character likely to influence, persuade, or induce. Commit fraud in the execution of or in the material alteration or any contract, mortgage, promissory note, or other documented incident to a home improvement transaction. Act as an agent for any owner or any finance or mortgage company to arrange for or to obtain an extension of credit which is used to pay an owner's obligations under a home improvement contract, unless the instrument evidencing such owner's indebtedness complies with subdivision B of section 433.2 of Title 16 of the Code of Federal Regulations, and the licensee complies with section 771-A of the General Business Law. Directly or indirectly publish any advertisement relating to the home improvements which contains an assertion, representation, or statement of fact which is false, deceptive, or misleading, provided that any advertisement which is subject to and complies with the then existing rules, regulations, or guides of the Federal Trade Commission shall not be deemed false, deceptive, or misleading, or by any means advertising or purporting to offer the general public any home improvement work with the intent not to accept contracts for the particular work or at the price which is advertised or offered to the public. Willfully or deliberately disregard and violate the building, sanitary, fire, and health laws of the city. 7, fail to notify the commissioner of any change or control in ownership, management, or business name or location. 8, conduct a home improvement business in any name other than the one in which the contractor is licensed. 9, willfully fail to comply with any order, demand, rule, regulation, or requirement made by the commissioner pursuant to provisions of this subchapter. 10, as part of or in communication with the inducement to make home improvement contract, no person shall promise or offer to pay credit or allow to a buyer any compensation or reward for the procurement of a home improvement contract with others. 11, fail to perform work under a home improvement contract in a skillful and competent manner. 12, procure a certificate of completion from an owner prior to the actual completion of performance by the contractor under a home improvement contract. 13, include any provision or clause in a home improvement contract whereby the owner waives or is banned from asserting any rights, claims, defenses, or remedies available to an owner under this subchapter, or any rules promulgated pursuant thereto. 14, fail to comply with subdivision 4 of section 71A of the lien law.
All right, we're gonna Veronica, thank you so much. We're gonna take a break. We've been going at it for a little while, and I see some people teetering to the side, so I want to make sure we're back in. Get some coffee, some water, and get settled. So we'll return back at 11:15. 11:15 would be our time. Take a small break, and we'll come back to continue because we got to finish this.
Okay.
Perfect. See you soon, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
The recording has stopped.
we are back. Right.
Thank you so much for posting this link, Mr. Hernandez.
Oh, anytime.
This is amazing.
Yeah, there used to be, I mean, the programs have evolved over time.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else had these training sessions, right? And they were really great certificates because they gave you the mechanical, they will give you, there's a couple of others, but this is the one that's by New York State, or funded by New York State. There's a bunch more that you can participate in. They actually go with the physical stuff that you need to do. And mechanical, carpentry, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. I don't see the mechanical or carpentry here.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's more. I just gave you the first one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's more to it. If anything, I'll send you an email.
Okay.
If anything, if I don't send it, just remind me. But I did find several. But this is the one that fits everyone on the handyman because it's really it covers a lot of areas for 30 hours.
Okay.
So that's the part. Okay.
I can volunteer to read if you need someone to read for the next.
If Miss Quinteros is giving up the reins, if she's like, let's it go, then you I can't hear you, Veronica.
After lunch, we'll switch.
Oh,
You want to switch after lunch?
after lunch.
Are you setting me up for failure? You know, if I go to lunch, I'm going to come back up.
Because you're gonna take a nap after.
I'll probably want to take a nap.
But you can continue. That's fine.
I'm teasing you. After lunch would be fine. I'm drinking my coffee now, so.
All right then.
That's teamwork right there.
Okay.
And now that I've had warning, I'll keep it light for lunch. How about that?
That's awesome.
Take.
One of the things that I before we continue, I love the teamwork here. Before I continue, there's a couple of things that kept popping up, you know, in terms of deviation, you know, staying on the plans. You have to be, you know, you can't make up stuff as you go. When a contract is set, you need to follow it to the T. Also, be as specific as possible in a contract. That's one of the points I wanted to make. So, if you're the example I'll use, and Kat probably remembers this because she was with me early on. I use one example that's very easy to follow. Is that if you ever use the color, the white, if you ever use painting, right? You know how many variations of color there is, right? So if you were to say, I want a white wall, what type of white, right? So there's eggshell, there's matte finish, there's, you know, semi-gloss, there's different variations of white. So you just don't paint white, you put the color exactly by serial number, the matching palette that goes with it, you know, the little barcode, to make sure that you're on the same page. Because, and I use that as one example of how to be very specific. And if the person selected that color, that's what you're going with. The brand, the serial number, if it costs more, you're going to have to need it. You got to go with that. The reason why, once you deviate, you just broke the contract. You cannot do that. If they're asking for a toilet that's cold, that it's a cold toilet, you can't go and say, oh, American Standard is cheaper today, I'm going to buy that. It doesn't work that way. You need to go and buy everything specifically for that project. If you're going to say, look, I want wood for Home Depot, but I want it straight from the mill, you got to go to the mill. There's no way around it. You can't go and make decisions because it's binding. You agree to something specific. And that goes for the homeowner. The homeowner can't just make changes and go, you know, I don't want that. modification. So you have to go through this process of writing it out, why they want to change and how it's going to affect the project. Is it going to cost more? Or you're going to or is it removing something from the project? It's allowed. You can do that. But both parties have to sign it, and then you update the contract. So it's a lot to do. So just to make it, and plus I'm not even recording. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not recording. So I just.
This meeting is being recorded.
But that will be the only thing you missed. So remember, so you have to stay on the contract language. You cannot change it. You cannot make modifications. Also, no false promises. You say what you can do, what you can't do. Don't say that that you work with the top contractors in the state and then you know everything. That is false character. You don't know anything, you just don't know. It's fine to say, no, I don't. And no is a good word. No is a good word. Don't feel, we tell our kids and when we were growing up, your parents tell you no is no, right? But then as an adult, no becomes like this word that you can't hear sometimes. It is okay to say it continuously. And it doesn't hurt to hear it. But at least you have a definitive answer. So I say that to remember that you can say, no, I really don't. You don't have to boast. You don't have to do anything. Or you tell the client, I can't do that. No, I cannot. Don't get yourself caught. You cannot commit fraud. This is a big one right here. Act as an agent. So some of you are in real estate. You guys are mixed up in buying properties, selling properties, and dealing with owners and all this other great stuff, right? But for this license, you cannot become an agent of financing programs. What does that mean? Is that if a homeowner says, you go to a homeowner and say, hey, this project is going to be $150K. And you go, and the homeowner goes, look, I have $100K, I don't have $150. And you go, no, I got my financing per people. Don't worry about it, I'm going to get you financed. That you cannot do. You cannot become an agent. Real estate, and you'll hear real estate come up a lot in this because this also stems from the financial crisis in 2008. Some people were young, some people don't remember, but that was a horrific time in this country. But the separation between real estate and contractors and everything is paramount. That means that you ever seen that old movie where you see that the guy drives up to the gas station, he goes, hey, my name is Bill, and you drive up to the gas station, hey, where's the mayor's office? He goes, it's down the road about a mile up. The guy drives down there, he finds the same guy and goes, I'm also the mayor. Then he drives down and he goes down to another mile and goes, where's the sheriff's office? Is right across the street, and he's the sheriff too. You cannot be the go-to for everything. You are doing one type of transaction, which is pertaining to the industry you're in, and that's all. But you cannot sell a property and then you sell the property and go, oh, we need a contractor. Here's my card. That to me, that causes a lot of problems because there is a conflict of interest. There's also, and I'll use Esther's word from yesterday, commingling of businesses, right? You don't want to be in that mix because of the simple fact that it creates confusion. You're coercing. It's called inducement at the same time. Inducement is not just about money. It's about forcing someone's hand under pressure. could be positive or negative. If you don't sign that contract, I'll call the city on you. That's inducement. That's forcing your hand. Or if you sign here, I give you $2,000 cash. Inducement, positive or negative, doesn't matter. But you can't do that. So please refrain. So if you're selling property, you sell property. If you want to, you close the deal, and at a later time you say, hey, you ever need anything, we can do repairs. And that's cool. You gotta close the but you can't be the go-to for everything within that same transaction, and that is not allowed. Actually, one of our students got ripped off just like that. The home actually was almost the people it was a 2-family in the Bronx, couldn't live in it because the real estate was connected. Look, the real estate broker was connected to the contractor. She actually induced them or forced them into that. He signs with the contractor that didn't know anything about construction and made the home unlivable. They couldn't live in it. They almost had to. There were talks about almost demolishing the house maybe, or it had to go through a real reconstruct because they couldn't live in it. That's how bad. They went from an okay property to a property they couldn't even live in. So that's what you don't want to do. Don't get involved in things like that. You gotta always notify the commissioner if you're making changes to the business or ownership. So that's important. Address changes, everything. Also here, it's important. I'm gonna remind everyone, this license is not testing your ability to perform on contracts or perform on projects. What you are committing to is following the rules and regulations of the license and the Department of Building Codes and everything in New York City. That's what you're committing yourself to. But you are being truthful about what you can do. So in this one, they're telling you need to be skillful and competent in what you do. That means that if you're saying, look, I do bathrooms, you better know how to do bathrooms. No crooked tiles, no, like I had one contractor one time, and he put the shower head, didn't know how to center it, and I was taking a shower against the wall because he didn't understand how to center a shower body. So it's important for you to understand what you're doing. Again, the word no, I really don't do that work. I specialize here. And if you are going to use subs, you say, I have subcontractors that do that work. I will hire them and get it done. Are you comfortable with that? Yes. Done. So just be honest and truthful and skillful at the same time. We talked about the lien law, failed to comply with subdivision 4 of the lien, section 71 of the lien law. There is something called the mechanical lien. So you guys might have heard of it. When you're buying properties, it always comes up, is there a lien on the property? Right? You have to check for all the liens. If there's anything, you can't even sell the property. The lien has to be resolved before you can even move further to selling or purchasing the property. So a lien is again called the mechanical lien. But in order for you to claim a lien or file a lien, you have to follow certain steps. A lien must be that if you're collecting a deposit, that deposit must be going into, it's called an escrow account, which is a bank account. And it must be going in there, and you can track all payments related to that project. As long as you do that, everything you comply with. But there are time limits with mechanical liens. The first 3 months or 6 months are crucial. If you don't follow within, the next 6 months after, it starts to lose its effectiveness in some way. But if you follow it within the first 3 to 6 months, it has its full effect. But that lien will attach itself to the property and you can't sell the property until it's resolved. Also, the liens do accrue some type of fee structure. There's a fee associated with it. The attorney we used to have was very successful at filing liens years ago. He's a good guy. And he was very successful at getting people to pay because of the way he filed the liens. He knew exactly what he was doing. So you have to go to an attorney for that. Okay. Remember, it talks about the salesperson and different things with the salesperson. Just be very careful who you have selling stuff, because it's always a problem. Let's continue, Veronica.
Okay. We're at 17 now? No, it's 16.
I did 15.
15.
15?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No salesperson may concurrently represent more than one contractor in the solicitation or negotiation of any one home improvement contract from an owner. The use of a contract form which fails to disclose a named contractor principal, whether for the purpose of offering the contract to various contractors other than the one salesperson purported to represent in negotiation or otherwise, is prohibited. No salesperson may be authorized to select a prime contractor on behalf of the owner. No salesperson shall accept or pay any compensation of any kind for or on account of a home improvement transaction from or for any person other than the contractor whom he or she represents with respect to the transaction. 16. As a part of or in connection with the inducement to enter any home improvement contract, no person shall promise or offer to pay, credit, or allow to any owner compensation or reward for the procurement or placing of home improvement business with others. No contractor or salesperson shall offer, deliver, pay, credit, or allow to the owner any gifts, bonus award or merchandise, trading stamps, or cash loans as an inducement to enter a home improvement contract. A contractor or salesperson may give tangible items to prospective customers for advertising or sales promotion purposes, where the gift is not conditioned upon obtaining a contract for a home improvement work, provided no such item shall exceed a cost value of $2.50, and no owner and or person shall receive more than one such item in connection with any one transaction. 17. Notwithstanding any other provision of this section, no person licensed under this subchapter shall, in connection with any home repair or home improvement, act as an agent for, or advertise, promote, or arrange for the services of a lender or its affiliates to secure a home loan or home improvement loan for or on behalf of an owner. No contractor shall receive payment for the proceeds of a home improvement loan except by an instrument payable solely by the borrower or at the election of the borrower through a third-party escrow agent in accordance with the terms established in a written agreement signed by the borrower, the lender, and the contractor prior to disbursement.
Perfect. Give me 1 second. Thank you. So you see how they don't want you to be connected to lending programs or anything. Some banks have something called the renovation home loan. Yeah, they'll provide, you say, look, I want to build an addition to the house. You get it approved and it's a renovation home loan. The one thing is that they will put that money in escrow, it's called, in an account, and the contractor has to provide a schedule of deliverables, right? So they have to say, look, we're going to do demo's going to last a week, and it's going to consist of following, right? And it's going to break it down. The next thing is that they're going to start, is it roughing or whatever it is, that will be scheduled. So they keep adding a schedule of deliverables or progress that they're going to make on the project. And every time they finish, they get paid. But some contractors are slick. They know the lender, or they get the homeowner to a lender, and the lender gives control to the contractor. In this case, you cannot be in a loan program like that or some type of proceeds like that. The homeowner has to have total control of making decisions when it comes to that type of borrowing or loan. So you cannot be the gatekeeper and get yourself paid every time. So just keep that in mind. Also, another thing is, you get a deposit for a project. That deposit only belongs to that project. You cannot use money to flow one job to another. It is illegal. It is not allowed. Many contractors do that, and it causes a lot of issues. So you have to also, when you start growing your business and you're handling a lot of accounts, you can have multiple bank accounts that handle separate amounts of money, like start a project. These are the project dollars that you collected or deposit, and use that account to pay for deposits or transfer over to the general account when you're ready to make a purchase. But that's record keeping. That's keeping track of the dollars. Because if you can't show that the deposit that was given to you, and you can't show where the money went, you're in trouble. So make sure you understand how that, keeping track of that is really important. Okay? All right. So let's continue, please.
Okay. Advertising and selling practices. 1. License number. All advertising and sales literature must contain the license number of the contractor. For purposes of this section, an alphabetical listing in a telephone directory shall not be considered advertising. 2. Prices and illustrations. Prices and descriptions of articles advertised shall be so placed in relation to any illustration that they will not be deceptive or misleading. An advertisement shall not be so designed as to give the impression that the price or terms of the featured merchandise applies to other merchandise in the advertisement when such is not the fact. An advertisement shall not be used with features merchandise at a price or term boldly displayed, together with illustrations of higher price merchandise, so arranged as to give the impression that the lower price or more favorable terms applies to the higher price merchandise when such is not the fact. 3. Headlines. Headings shall be free from exaggeration or deception. For example, a heading which refers to a different mark, brand, grade, or quality than the item or items illustrated or listed immediately therewith shall not be used. Headings and captions shall conform with the descriptions in the text. For savings, not a selling price. A saving claims shall not be expressed in any manner which implies that the amount specified is the selling price of the merchandise. Materials. Any description in advertising or selling of material to be furnished shall be accurate, and there shall be no statement or implication that material will be of a particular type when such is not in fact the case. Advertised price limitations. When a price or specific credit terms are featured in an advertisement, the advertisement shall accurately describe what is being offered at that price or term. Example, when an item such as 10 feet by 16 feet extension, 10 feet by 15 feet basement, etc., is featured at a price or specific credit terms, this shall mean that a furnished extension, basement, etc., will be billed at the advertised price or terms. Any limitations or conditions on what will be supplied at the featured price or on credit terms shall be clearly and conspicuously stated in immediate conjunction with the featured statement. Example, 14 feet by 12 feet, frame, garage, unpainted. 10 feet by 15 feet extension, shell only. Installation charge. If installation is extra, the advertising shall clearly and conspicuously disclose the fact in immediate conjunction therewith. For example, installation extra plus installation extra. Accessories and extra charge. If the price advertised does not include all of the accessories which either appear in the advertisement or which are necessary to effect proper installation and the use of the item, such as hardware, panels, frames, etc., the advertisement shall state that fact clearly and prominently in those conjunction with the advertised price. Extra charges shall not be used as a device to disguise the actual selling price of merchandise.
So, give me 1 second. So, what they're telling you is, if when you're advertising your business, you have to tell them exactly what you're selling. You can't just say, hey, this floor is gonna be $500. It doesn't tell you how big, how much square footage is covered, what type of flooring it is. You have to be specific. What's included, what's not included. You can't try to, in this case, in number 8, extra charges, you sort of go cheap on one thing, but then the extra charges is where you're going to make your money. They don't want that. If, for example, when you go, I always have the biggest problem with Home Depot. And I've been using this example for years, and to this day, they still do it. So when you go to Home Depot, you see an advertisement for a kitchen, and the kitchen, they go, it's only $2,000, $1,999. But by the time you go in there, the wording is so small at the bottom that nobody looks. But when you go in there to get a quote for a kitchen, you're about $25,000. So for this license, they're saying, look, you're going to tell them, look, if you're going to do a kitchen, and you're going to tell them it's only $4,900, $5,000, What's the square footage of that kitchen? Are the accessories included? Or is it just cabinetry? Does it include the countertops? See what I'm saying? So you have to tell them what, yes and no. And you cannot make it in very small print, like that you need a magnifying glass to look at it. It has to be straight, it has to be a good size, I think it's 10 points. But you have to make sure that people can read it. Let's continue, please.
Okay, delivery charges. If an extra charge is required to make delivery of any advertised home improvement or part thereof, such requirements shall be clearly and conspicuously stated in the advertisement. Factory to you, no dealers. General statements such as factory to you, direct to you, buy from manufacturer, save the middleman's profit, or purchases of similar meaning shall not be used unless the advertiser is actually the maker or producer of the merchandise advertised or offered for sale. Guarantee or warranty. If reference is made to a guarantee or warranty, or the word guaranteed or warranted is used, the terms, conditions, and period of time covered thereby shall be clearly and conspicuously disclosed in the advertisement. The terms shall indicate whether the labor and material only, repair, replacement, or full, partial refund is offered. Any limitations shall be disclosed in the advertisement. Reasonable fulfillment, lifetime. Guarantee shall not extend for a period of time beyond the normal life of the item or service, or in the case of guarantees against defective materials and workmanship, beyond the time within which defective materials and workmanship are likely to show up. Lifetime and or long-term guarantees shall not be made.
So, really quick, remember, a guarantee or warranty has to be realistic. You have to also tell them what's included. Is it 100% replacement, and does it include labor? There's warranty, so warranty will last up to a certain point and then expire at a certain point. So there's different things to look at. A lifetime, you can never offer in anything. The reason why is materials can only last so long. A roof is, they'll say a roof can last 15, 20 max. So you have to look at that. But you're not going to say, hey, your guarantee is good for the life of the roof, which is a total lie. The materials can be claimed from someone else, but that's very hard to do at the same time. So it is your job to try to ensure that whatever you're doing is reasonable in terms of any type of warranty or guarantee. Lifetime is not allowed. And plus, like if you install a floor, wood floor, and it's high traffic and you install it, the person says, no, I want this floor, but it's not made for high traffic. Are you gonna give them a 2-year, 3-year warranty? No, because it's gonna get destroyed. So you have to really understand your materials at the same time and how long they can last. Let's continue, please.
Credit and credit charges. All statements and claims regarding installment, buying plans, and finance, credit services, carrying or service charges, etc., including references to down payments and amounts and frequency of payments, shall be accurate and clearly understandable and made in good faith. Price reductions. Claims which state or imply a price reduction or savings from the advertiser's previous price, whether as a dollar amount or percentage, must be based on the advertiser's usual and customary selling price for the item in the normal and regular course of his or her business. Such claims shall not be based on isolated or infrequent sales or infectious list prices or by guesstimating. Phases featuring a sale with a stated limit, with the stated time limitations, example 3-day sales, shall be used only when the advertised item are to be taken off sale and will revert to a higher price for a reasonable length of time immediately following the sale. Claim result. Claims as to performance protection result which will be obtained by or recognized from a particular home improvement product or service shall be based on known and provable facts. Extravagant claims such as cut fuel bills 30%, outlast, the accuracy of which is dependent on factors over which the advertiser or seller has no control, should not be used.
Give me 1 second. So claim results means that I'll use Mr. Marvin in terms of windows, right? Manufacturers will say, hey, depending on the type of window, if you install this window, you can cut your fuel bill or your expenses for heating and cooling by a percentage, right? They'll say 20%, 30%, right? But as a contractor, you cannot make that claim. The reason why you don't manufacture the window. So they don't want you to use any type of that language to say, you can offer a window and it's energy efficient, but you can't say, look, these windows will save you a ton of money. Not allowed. And I bring that up because you got to remember, in New York City, there's a lot of buildings that are very old. You can't say, look, for the HVAC folks, if you install the system, you're never going to be cold, you're never going to be hot, right? Because if the building is very old, there's no insulation. What are you going to do? So you got to refrain from doing that because you don't manufacture the items, you don't keep stats on who's saving more money when they install these products. So they don't want you to do claim results. They don't want it. Okay. Let's continue, please.
Okay. Insured and bonded. When claims of being insured or bonded appeared in an advertisement, the nature of the insurance or bond shall be distinctly stated in the advertisement. 18. Pricing. If a price per square foot or other basis is quoted in the advertising of residential aluminum siding, which does not include all costs for labor, parts, and accessories for the proper functioning and appearance of such installed product, example, starter strips, doors and windows trim, window head flashing, backup pieces and corner pieces, it shall be clearly and conspicuously qualified in conjunction therewith by some explanatory statement such as panels only, necessary accessories at extra cost.
All right, we're going to put a hold there. Thank you, Veronica. Daniel, you had a question?
Yeah, going back to warranty, when you buy, let's say, washer and dryer, you do the install, there's a warranty on the washer and dryer.
Right.
There's usually a piece of paper that you fill out. Let's say you're the contractor. Who fills that out? The
homeowner.
Homeowner. And does the contractor, let's say it's a 3-year warranty, so when we're writing up our quote or signing off on the contract, are we also saying that we're going to honor the 3-year warranty because of the washer and dryer?
No.
Okay.
So you don't control so what you control or what you've performed is the installation of it. I mean, if you purchased it and it's defective, right? There's a period that you could say has a 30-day return policy, right? I could go and pick it up and return it and get you a new one. That you could take on, right? Because if you went and bought it, but if the person bought it and said, "Hey, Daniel, please install it," now it's only about the installation. Did you install it right? Is it leaking because you forgot to add, not flex tape. What's it called? Teflon tape, right? I'm using Teflon, right? Teflon, or you didn't put the tubing to the washer all the way halfway. You jammed it all the way down. Now it over flooded. That is your responsibility. But if the unit stops to work, that's on you. They have to call the company to come and repair the unit. So you got to figure out. So the materials, depending on the time frame, if they're defective, yeah, you could put a 30-day, or whatever you want. But if you didn't buy the materials or the equipment, that's not your responsibility. The installation is where you want to say, okay, I did something wrong here. And you come and check it out. And because remember, people that are pissed, they're going to blame you. Even when you don't control the machine. So you can go and check it out and say, okay, this is what the problem is. It is not the installation. It's the machine is no good. So then the homeowner has to do that.
One quick thing. We have a residential building that just opened up, luxury rental building. A lot of the cartridges in the shower, half of them are defective. So as a builder or as a contractor, you're supposed to guarantee that work, correct? And they're supposed to come back.
What are we talking about cartridges?
It's the hot and cold cartridge that goes behind the shower. It's a small piece.
Okay.
That regulates the hot and cold water.
Oh, okay. Is it easy? Can you easily remove it?
As a handyman, I could change it out. It's just because we're talking about warranty, and you say when we're writing contracts or advertising, if you're guaranteeing something on a project, and let's say, for example, what I'm dealing with in this rental building is a lot of these cartridges are defective, but the owners, the contractors are not coming back to fix that.
Right. So you have to outline it that it's on the workmanship, not the cartridge. So you have to explain it that this is a defective part. I'll put in a new one, but you're going to run into the same problem. I can't guarantee. But if I didn't install it correctly, that's what I cover. So you make it clear, so you separate yourself from that. Because then you're gonna be dealing with all the cartridges every time, and you're gonna have to cover it yourself. But that's not your responsibility. It's like if you install the cartridge and that someone gets burned because it didn't cut the hot, right, and it went into cold. Now you got a problem. But you gotta outline and say, this is a defective part, and write it out. The part you're asking for replacement is defective, and there's no real solution unless we replace the whole body, the shower body. you know, you can make a suggestion that this part needs to be completely replaced. And you could, that would be for another project, but in the meantime, you could do this. So you outline it in your contract. Okay. I'll take 2 questions and then we got to go to lunch. Perfect. Charlie, what do you got?
Yeah, I have a quick question regarding the training information you just posted. It looks like it's a great training, but I don't see any information regarding the registration or sign up.
I just provided the info. You have to go and follow up. I was looking for one under HPD, but if you email them, there's enough information on the website. You can get in contact with them, but that's your responsibility. I just really can't get into it. Okay.
Do you know how much is the fee, the training fee?
I have no idea. Back then, it was free under HPD. HPD had a set course, but I guess they stopped doing that for now. I'll check again. But these are the programs that are sponsored by the state, so you have to go and figure them out. But those are valid programs. Okay.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome, Ms. Brathwaite, then Anna, and then we got to go to lunch.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Under insured and bonded, you said that it has to appear in the advertisement. You see that like all the time, insured and bonded. But it says the nature of the insurance. When you say that, because I've never seen that. Like I know what nature means, but I just see where it's advertised. They always just say insured and bonded.
Yeah, they're telling you can't just say insured and bonded. You have to tell them what you're insured for. So you have to specifically lay out. We're insured for $1.5 million, right?
Oh, the amount has to be on the advertisement as well. Yeah. What you're saying? That's the nature.
That's the nature.
Ah, okay, thanks.
So what I would tell you not to use that, because automatically with your license you have to be licensed. I mean, you have to have insurance. So there's no need to do that. All right. Last question.
There's no need to advertise it.
Don't use it in advertising. Leave it alone.
Okay.
Anna. No, Anna. Give me 1 second. Anna,
yeah, I put my questions in the chat. That's what I've been doing.
Okay, hold on a second. This is. I mean that is the warranty you want to give, right? So it's based on the warranty or guarantee you give. So if you say, look, you have a warranty or guarantee for 3 months, they can call at any given time, even on the 30th day is still valid.
Okay, so I know a contractor, sorry to interrupt you, and he told me that he has to give the homeowner a year. For example, once his work was completely done, but if there was any issues, he has to give the homeowner a year. I want to know if that's correct or not.
If you want to give a year, you can give a year. Doesn't matter. It depends on. Okay. I always base it on what kind of work are you doing. You know?
Well, he does remodeling of like the entire homes and things like that.
Yeah. A year is a year.
Okay, but you have to state that on your contract?
Yes, of course.
Oh,
and you
okay,
have to state,
and you, the contractor, decides how long it is, the time frame.
Exactly. You decide how long.
Okay, then also, when you were talking about the modification form, there's some homeowners that want to buy their own material and just pay you for the work. So what about if they change their mind in the middle of the project? It's like, okay, no, we can't buy the material no more. You need to take over. Can we do that?
Of course. It's a change order or modification.
It's always a change order or modification. Okay.
Yeah, anything that changes that was agreed upon and you need to change it, I'm going to show you on the website of where they have a nice contract change order form, an estimated form. It's all on the DCA website.
Okay, I was gonna ask you had that change order and modification form. And also, what about for the homeowners that want to start a project right away? Because you said they have 3 days to decide if they want to go with you or not. But there's some homeowners that want to start right away, like the next day. So we can't do that.
it's not about starting right away. You have to give them a grace period, it's called, of 3 days. They signed a contract, this 3 days. We're gonna go through that. So
Okay.
there's a 3-day period, and you have to wait it out.
Okay.
Once the 4th or 5th day starts, that's when you get started. Now, let's say there's an emergency, water leaks, fire, something happened. You can actually bypass the 3-day requirement, but you have to sign a letter of why you're making, the homeowner has to sign in you saying, we're gonna bypass the 3 days because a homeowner it's a health issue, we need to get in now, we need to do the repairs now. So whatever the reason is, it has to be detailed and
But that's
attached.
only in the case of an emergency.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Alright.
you.
You're welcome. Ting, what do you got?
How can we get the license?
Huh?
Yeah, you said the training, yeah, we don't have license.
I don't know. Well, what are we talking about right now?
The home improvement license.
Yeah, we'll talk offline because it seems like we're in two different places, and I'll explain what's happening. So I'll go over it with you. Okay?
Okay. Go over.
We'll do it afterwards. We're gonna take a lunch. Come back at 12:35. 12:35 is our new start time. Okay?
And also, if I do HVAC business, I need the ALT3 plumber and electrician. How can I get them?
No, now you're going deeper into the rabbit hole, and we'll talk about offline. It's gonna take a long time. Okay?
The recording has stopped.
All right, let's go to lunch and then come back. Okay? Thank you.